So good afternoon or good morning everyone, and welcome to the second webinar in this year's Java Card Forum webinar series. Today, Gilles Pauzie from Thales shares his insights on the impact of quantum computing on electronic documents. The first electronic passport compliant with ICAO specifications was introduced in 2004. There are more than 140 states and non-state entities currently issuing e-passports and over 1 billion e-passports in circulation. The ICAO specifications for the electronic data have been adopted and adapted for other electronic documents, such as the identity card, driving license, and EU resident permit. And so now it's time to review the ICAO's security mechanisms in order to face the quantum era and the different threats it will bring. Gilles has 30 years of experience in the smart card industry in different activities such as smart card OS, smart card readers, online storage solutions, and ID documents in a variety of different roles such as R&D developer, technical consultant, and product manager. He has 12 years of experience as product manager for Passport eID embedded software, and from 2013 to 16, he was the Thales representative for the digital tachograph version 2 specifications. Since 2023, Gilles has been the Thales representative in multiple industry organizations. He holds a Bachelor of Science in Computer and Electronics. So as usual, the webinar will be recorded and available on our YouTube channel afterwards so that you can focus on the presentation itself. There's a chat feature or questions feature in the webinar where you can ask your questions on the fly as the microphones are muted during the presentation. But at the end of the presentation, you can ask your questions directly to Gilles as we will open up the microphones. And so, Gilles, now the floor is yours.
Thanks, Karen, for this nice introduction. So this is the agenda. We already covered the introduction with Karen. Because I don't know if you are familiar with electronic document, I prepared this presentation with the first part. I will just give you a background and some details about what is an electronic document, what we'll talk about electronic document, and then we will see the impact of crypto-relevant computer cryptography on electronic document and what can be done in front of that, implementing PQC algorithm in electronic document. So let's start with the first part that will cover the, I would say, 101 training on electronic document. So when we talk about electronic identity document, there is different type of identity document. Passport, this is the main type of document we share across the countries, identity card in some countries, driving license, and resident permit. So you can see different form factor, but different usage, but always the same to identify a citizen. So it all started more or less with more on the passport side, and you can see on this passport timeline with two interesting dates when this ICAO, so it's ICAO stands for International Civil Aviation and Organization. Headquarters are located in Montreal. It's a United Nations organization, and they decided along the life to implement standards on the way to travel across different countries, and also addressing the identity document to cross the border. And we decided to put a chip inside the document, and the first implementation of this chip on the passport was with Belgium in 2004. So it means that now we have 20 years of experience on identity document chip embedded in the passport. So we can say, why do we need standard? So I don't know if some of you remember about old passport format we used to have in the past. I can remember the one I have in the left part, a French passport with information put different place compared to British passport or any other document. So it was quite difficult, I would say, for police officer to control a document because information was never located the same place, etc. And also it was mainly just paper and nothing, no real nice features to such security features inside the document itself. It all changed with ICAO specification, and since 2004, the format is always the same whatever countries you are on. Of course, you have some flexibility in terms of colors, etc., but they are all the same. Could be a paper page or polycarbonate data page. Sometimes we call it polycarbonate data page because you can embed more security features. The way it's built now is that you can easily retrieve information in an automatic way process. So it's more difficult to counterfeit because ICAO will not only specify the chip and the content of the chip, but it will also specify the amount of security features you must have inside your document. And the chip is strongly recommended, okay? Meaning that we still have very few countries not having a chip today embedded on their passport. Similar things happen 10 years ago in Europe with driving license. So in European Union, you can see that in the past we used to have different form factor, mainly paper, easy to damage, easy to counterfeit, etc. It has been decided that in 2013 it would be ID1 polycarbonate. So ID1, this is a credit card format for the person not familiar with it. So this is ID1 card format, polycarbonate because it lasts at least 10 years. This is validity of a driving license, no, in Europe. Security features. Here I'm talking about security features on the card body itself. I'm not talking about security features yet on the chip itself, because anyway, the chip for the driving license in Europe is not mandatory. And more recently, also again in Europe, it has been decided by regulation laws, etc., that we'll now use ID1 card format, polycarbonate again, more difficult to counterfeit, and all the data will be printed at least the same way. You can have some possibility. For example, you can see on the Italian one that you have this barcode for automatic process. But the chip, when you issue an ID card, the chip is mandatory compared to a driving license. And in fact, they all share even if a driving license, they have a own standard. In fact, all the security mechanisms are similar inside the chip. So we have a chip, but we need to protect the chip. So there is a first level of protection. It's called document holders protection. Okay, so meaning that as a citizen, you may not want maybe to be a track using your document. Track because most of the documents are contactless. This is the case anyway for passport. It's only contactless, but you can you can maybe fear the fact that someone could read your document with a very big antenna and retrieve some information. Well, first of all, at contactless protocol level, for each new contactless station, the chip serial number is changed. It's a new one each time. So meaning that if I can read your document just reading the chip serial number, which is a low-level protocol layer, it will be different the second time. So I cannot identify you just by this low protocol level. One that is not mentioned here in the document, but it's worth to mention because this is a second session, so we may have some American citizen. You also have a chill possibility to have a chill, and this is what they use in the US passport, meaning that when you close your passport, there is a kind of metallic part that will avoid any communication with the chip. Okay. However, what is important is in fact a chip itself, you cannot access the chip without knowing a password. And then when you have this password, you can establish a communication. In fact, this password, you must open the document because it's an information printed on the document itself. It's not clearly mentioned password. This is in fact a concatenation of information printed on the document. You will see later in the presentation. But then It means that if, as a citizen, you do not open the document, it means that you do not give consent to read the document. You can think about brute force attack, but there is a countermeasure about such mechanism that if you not succeed on this protocol, then on mutual verification, then next session will be a bit delay and again, and you can end up with maybe a 10-second delay between the next attempt, and then it makes impossible a brute force attack on the passport. And once we have authorized access to passport, we establish a secure messaging session, meaning that all the exchange between the terminal, so document reader, and the document itself will be protected, and no one can get access to it. So this is the first level of protection. The second level of protection is related to the issuing authority. So we issuing authority will want someone to be able to modify the data in the chip itself. Okay. So what is performed is that in fact, with all the data in the chip, so the data are stored in different files. So the data are hashed and then signed by the issuing country. This signature would be stored no longer in the chip with a public key. We call this mechanism passive authentication. Why passive? Because in fact, it's not a mechanism performed by the chip itself. It would be obviously the verification would be performed outside the chip. But this is the most important mechanism. And then one more mechanism, it's for related to anti-cloning. So you want to be sure that maybe someone maybe you can take your passport, read everything, and copy everything on the second chip and try to put this on a different form factor, document, etc. Well, what is happening is that we have a mechanism where we know that we have a key pair, the public key is retrieved by the terminal, and the private key, of course, is securely stored inside the chip. We'll ask terminal will ask the chip to sign a challenge, and it will verify that the chip has not been cloned. Okay. So this is all the mechanism we can find on the electronic documents, so specified by ICAO or the organization, but this is what you can find on electronic passport or any other electronic document, driving license, etc. So what do we store inside the chip? Just a summary. I'm not going to the details of the key, etc. But roughly, this is what you can store. You will store personal data, so such a name, first name, sex, country, etc., date of birth, and then passport details. The type of passport, so it could be a diplomatic passport or traditional one or temporary, etc. The country code, passport number, date of expiry. And you can see on this left part, on the bottom, you have these two lines, which is called MRZ. It's the machine readable zone, something that will be automatically read by the inspection system. And in fact, in the second line, you have enough information to create the password mentioned before to perform a multi authentication with the chip. And then you will retrieve information such as picture, fingerprint. It's an additional security mechanism, fingerprint, but this is information that you will retrieve from the chip itself. More details. When you reset the document, you arrive at the master file, the root, whatever you want to name it. You have a first file, free access, where you specify the protocol, the different, because when we're talking about security mechanisms such as space, you will see later on in the presentation, there is different variant flavor, I would say. So the terminal will look at them and it will select one of them. Then when the paste mechanism is performed, it will retrieve so different information from different files, data group 1, data group 2, and one important where we store the hash and the signature in the document security object. So this, there is more files, okay? Some of them are related to the keys, etc. But this is just to give you an idea about what is stored inside a passport or any electronic document. This is something very important, this trust chain for the passive authentication. When you're going to issue a document, you see it starts from what we call the country signing certification authority. So something that each country must have. They have their own PKI to manage such information. We derive a document signer certificate, which is signed by the CSCA, and this document signer will sign your document. When you're going to verify your passport, then you will do the reverse. You will extract information from the passport, you verify the document signer certificate, which is valid or not, and then you will verify against the CSCA. We have one more slide to explain in details, more or less, what must be done. Okay, but this is really a trust of chain, and this is very important. The CSCA certificates, the public information is available on what they call the ICAO PKD, so Public Key Directory. So each country must provide their public key information. So and update when it's necessary. There is also revocation list. They put this so every other countries can verify securely the document. So let's go step by step how we're going to verify a document. So when you arrive at the border, so you even go through automatic border control, so where you, on your own, you're going to present your passport, or a security officer will take your passport and will use the same way, more or less, with the same type of inspection system or document reader. It will open the passport. It will put it on a glass where, in fact, below there is a camera that will scan your data page. So the data page, this is what you can see on the screen, where you have your face, etc. It will something you're not going to see because you have your passport on it, but it will use different lights, so the normal light, then infrared and the UV light, because it will reveal information that are embedded in the data page. Each countries, they normally inform the countries what type of information they have put on their passport. So it's something that they can verify when you present your passport. So this is more or less the first level of verification. Then you can see on the bottom these two lines. So from these two lines, the inspection system will retrieve a password, and it will get access to the chip by performing this PACE authentication. So PACE is in, so once it's done, it means that you can start exchanging with the chip in a secure manner under secure messaging. So you can now start to read all the files. And the inspection system will verify the authenticity of the data. So how it's going to work? It will, for each file read, it will hash them and it will compare with the one stored in the chip, okay, to be sure that nothing has been modified. Okay. Then it will also perform the signature of the hash and compare to the one stored on the chip. So someone can say, yeah, okay, it's the same. Well done. Is it enough? It will compare also the document signer, okay, against the CSCA, because it's important. I mean, if you stop on step 2, it's totally useless, because I can create a passport that will pass the step 1 and step 2. That's very easy, and this is what we can find. And I would say not on the market, hopefully, but this is what we can find for a counterfeit passport. We received a passport from border control that was supposed to be not real passport. In fact, they are able to create a passport with a chip on it. I cannot say red chip. This is a chip, which is a normal chip. Well, quite easy. I mean, you order on the marketplace a Java card platform, smart card, and then there is also open source for an ICAO compliant application, and then you personalize your document. And you can achieve step 1 and 2 where you can sign because you have created your own trust chain, and you put everything on the document. But this is why it is important to go to level 3 and level 4. And this is why also it's important for countries to share their information, their public key, as no one will be able to verify step 3 and step 4. So this is really the most important mechanism to consider on electronic document, the passive authentication. Even if it's not a security mechanism performed by the chip, it remains the most important one. Then the inspection system will do additional steps such as comparing, for example, the picture extracted from the chip to the one printed on the data page, the same for the passport number, etc. So there is a kind of scoring at the end that will grant you access or not. The scoring is dependent by country, etc. And one more step also to perform to verify the anti-cloning, so authentication of the chip with active authentication procedure. Okay, so this is really what happens when you present your passport. I mean, there's a lot of different steps, but this is how we can proceed and confirm that you have a real passport. This is your owner of a passport and it has been issued by the legal authority. So now let's go not too much details, but at least explain the different mechanisms I have mentioned. So PACE, passive vote, and active vote. And what you can see is that PACE is just a diffie-Hellman key agreement protocol, okay, with a password base. So again, password retrieved from the data page, which is printed on the second line. And then we support documents. We can support different key agreement algorithm. Could be diffie-Hellman or ECDH, electrical diffie-Hellman. Then secure messaging, there is different type of key. Knowing that triples, of course, no more recommended, but it's more now based on ES. But an inspection system should be able to support these different algorithms, different type of secure messaging. Passive auth, again, this is a mechanism outside the chip, but remains more, at least important. We used to have SHA-1, it's no more supporting since a few years now. So SHA-2, different size and different type of signature. So again, RSA elliptic curve, I would say the traditional cryptographic mechanism we know. And active auth is more or less something similar, where we're talking about RSA digital signature, CDSA, etc. So they all more or less rely on the same asymmetric mechanism, the traditional one we can find today for such document. So we are now reaching the second part where we see the impact of electronic documents in the quantum area and what can be done for electronic documents. So the day we'll have a cryptographically relevant quantum computer, but it would be huge. The impact would be huge for electronic document because it means that you can, if you remember, all the mechanisms rely on asymmetric and RSACC will be impacted immediately. So meaning that they can block and all this mechanism, and we can envision that someone will be able to forge a electronic document. And if you haven't taken any countermeasure against such quantum computer, you will not be able to make a distinction between the forged and a real document, at least on the chip. This is why it's also important to have security features on the data page with holograms, etc. But on the chip itself, if you just run the chip, if you're able to forge a document because you have access to a CAQC computer, then that will be tremendous in terms of attack. So this is why we need to specify a new security mechanism, but we must also keep in mind that, okay, we cannot just switch from traditional system to a PQC system. We must allow smooth migration because the inspection system are quite long to update around the world. And this is what Thales decided, is to have a look on what can be done on electronic documents. And we presented recently to the ICAO or NTWG, so Newton Working Group, a prototype of a password embedding a new security mechanism based on the post-quantum crypto algorithm. So we first started with passive authentication. We call it now hybrid passive authentication, because hybrid, this is more or less the thing that is strongly recommended by a different governmental agency. We consider that, well, even if you have a new algorithm, you must keep a traditional algorithm because they consider the PQC one not mature enough today to rely only on this one. So that will be an hybrid signature for the passive authentication, which is quite well understood so far because it's already seen in different implementation. So it means multiple certificate implementation instead of having a single certificate, meaning that the current CSCA we know today issued by different countries and share in terms of public key will remain unchanged. Each country will have to create a new PQC CSCA they will deploy, and they will share the public key information the same way they share for the legacy one. And in fact, both will live in parallel for an extended period until someone will decide, okay, it's time now to PQC is mature enough, or maybe they will have implemented new PQC algorithm, and they will consider that legacy one can die. So this is where we start. We can think that, okay, there is no, because it's a mechanism that must be, the verification is performed outside the chip. However, it has an impact on the chip itself. And the impact is in fact in terms of size. Because we have a file called a CD security data object where we store the signature. So with a hybrid passive authentication mechanism, we'll enclose two signatures, the legacy and the PQC one. Not going into the details of the type of SHA, hash, etc. But you can see on the table that where in the legacy world we talk about signature and public, we're talking about hundreds of bytes. Here we're talking about thousands of bytes. Okay, so thousands of bytes to read, to store, etc. Well, that's not a big deal, but it already has a first impact on the document itself. What is interesting is that this SOD5 has been designed from the beginning to have more than one signature. And in fact, if you had the second signature, which would be a PQC signature, in front of a legacy inspection system, then this second signature will be totally ignored, and it will not reject the document. It will just read the first signature, which will verify this first signature. The second signature will be in your for legacy inspection system. The PQC-enabled inspection system, of course, will verify the second one, but legacy one will not make any trouble having such document in front of it. So the impact deploying an hybrid passive auth, it will be mainly on the backend system, backend to upgrade so the document issue PKI. So I mentioned legacy CSCA, then they were required to have also a PQC CSCA. The document issuance system, so it will ask to the document signer a legacy signature and then a PQC signature. The PKD, where we share the public key, need to be ready to publish also the public key of the PQC CSCA. And of course, an upgrade of the inspection system to allow them to verify both signature. Okay. So the impact in terms of memory, it's here below. A traditional legacy signature will be around 24 KB when we store also pictures and information such as name, first name, etc., passport. But if you decide to include MLDAC level 5, so it's MLDAC, it's crystal dilithium. It's now called MLDAC. Well, you had quite a large amount of bytes, and you're reaching 41 kilobytes. But it's not impossible. Now, let's talk about the second security mechanism, So in the ICAO world, we call it PACE, but in fact, it's we can name it PAKE if you want, Password Key Exchange. It's the same principle. We use asymmetric mechanism. However, we don't rely on PKI to all of that. At the end, we use a password, and it makes this thing portable and easy to address the IoT market and passport. And then at the end, we establish a secure session because the purpose is really to have to establish a secure channel between the terminal and the chip. Since all these tremendous things around PQC, we've seen a lot of paper around how to use PQC and around the PAKE protocol. So we have different papers, get a cake, randomize, etc. So and then recently one more protocol, c'est très chic. We can find a lot of funny name and get a cake, c'est très chic. They're quite good for finding funny name. And then this latest paper triggered some interest internally in Thales by Security Lab because we asked them to have a look on what could be possible to enhance and to the best protocol on ICAO to use a PQC algorithm. And they say, okay, this one we think we can embed it in the chip. Keep in mind that not all the PQC algorithms standardized by the NIST can be embedded in a chip. Today, only we say the Kyber, the dilithium and Kyber. I'm sorry, crystal dilithium and crystal Kyber can be embedded on the chip, okay, on the secure chip, on small chip. So, okay, so what has been decided is that internally we developed this protocol where the PEG chip on the one of our product to have a look and to see in terms of okay if it's feasible and what are the impact in terms of performance. So I'm not going to detail the thing, and you have a link anyway for this paper if you want to find more information. We do the paper as it is. So we configure a document with different PACE and PEG protocols. So PACE, this is a legacy word, I would say, and the PEG, this is a PQC word. And we perform the different document verification, so a full verification with, I mean, the only difference was only this PACE or PEG establishment, and then after that, you can see that the secure messaging remains the same, so it was based on the AES 256, okay? So the difference will be only on the protocol at the beginning. And you can see that on the graph below, the timing, we can have between different documents with a different protocol. On the blue, this is a graph when we perform the test at, we say, the traditional communication baud rate 848, both direction. And on the orange, this is with higher speed, 3.4 megabits. So there is an impact. Okay? But now, if you compare documents, different protocol, you can see that, okay, there is an override when you use cable level 3 or level 5 compared to a traditional PACE-CDH. Not that much, and even less when you use Diffie elements or RSA2 keys. So we can say that, okay, there is a little bit of a red, but not that important. And it's totally transparent, we can say, for when you pass the border, it would be not that important. Here, normally, this is a demonstration I did in front of the ICAO and TWG. I'm not going to do it because it's not that important, and you're not going to see me switching from one document to another one. Nevertheless, what is important to see here is that this is what will be displayed on the left part when you present your document that is able to recognize a PQC algorithm. So it will see, okay, there is different protocol. Which one do you want to select? So there is a page for one I mentioned, PACE-CDH, PACE-CDH, Kyber level 3 or level 5. This is what a PQC-enabled inspection system will display. The same document taken with legacy inspection system on the right part, you will see that either it will just prompt you for the one recognized of the PCCDH and DH. So this one is used with a software called Platinum GRT delivered by Secunet company, which is well known by our customer. And then on the most right part, this is an application you can have on your smartphone. You search on your smartphone, Android or Apple store, you will search for Read ID. This is an application that will allow you to read your passport. And you can see that, well, on this application, the application will not going to ask you to select one protocol. It will pick up the first one or the first organized, and it will display information. And in both cases, both legacy inspection system, the document embedding so the new PAKE protocol and also the passive hot hybrid passive hot, while for both application, we just have been ignored and then they succeed to verify the document. So this is very interesting, is that we have today the possibility to propose a new type of document. You can document embedding PQC algorithm, but in front of legacy inspection system today, if we deploy such document, it would be ignored at least until they are updated, of course, upgraded to support. But it means that we can have a smooth migration to this new era. The impact is a bit different. It's when you issue the document itself, the personalizer of the document will have to put the appropriate parameters inside the chip with personalization. No impact on the PKI solution. I'm talking here about the CSE or CBCA for the person familiar with the CSE mechanism. And of course, it will require an upgrade of the inspection system for the support of the PAKE algorithm and to select this PAKE algorithm instead of a PACE algorithm. This is what's going to happen. ICAO recommendation will come that, okay, you must upgrade your inspection system to support a new PAKE protocol. And if a PAKE protocol is listed, you must select PAKE protocol instead of PACE. This is exactly the same situation today with only to talk about PACE protocol, but in fact, we have a very old one protocol called BAC protocol, Basic Access Control. It was the first one, but we're relying on triple DES key only for secure messaging. And this is the rules today by ICAO, is that if you have a document supporting both BAC protocol and PACE protocol, you must use PACE protocol and not BAC. That's it. So we certainly have similar rules in the future with PQC-enabled documents. So you can say, okay, yes, right, okay, use a chip, but be a very large chip. Well, we did this on so this is a standard Thales product, and we say use on what we call iron chip. Okay, so this chip has 32-bit CPU with 25K of RAM, which is quite unusual compared to traditional chip. But if we have a look on this more or less roadmap, I will say, but we can see on the top the different mechanism endorsed by ICAO. So I've mentioned BAC, which was the original protocol before being replaced by PACE. In between, we get ES6 and the access control. Not described in the presentation, but it's just an additional mechanism to access fingerprints. PACE-CAM was just an evolution of the PACE, and LDS2 to store Visa, etc., and PQC. But you can see when we started in 2004, we had only 8-bit CPU chip with not that much RAM, 6 KB. At least I'm talking about Thales, the product we propose on the market. And then now we are in 2024, and since a few years now, we're talking about 32-bit CPU chip. 12 to 20 kilobytes RAM. So it's flash memory instead of EEPROM, more convenient for a chip supplier. And REF communication. So we started to 848, but now we have what we call VHBR ready product. We can go up to 6.8 megabits per second. So that will definitely improve the communication between the document and the terminal. So we are not that far, I would say, in terms of conventional chip. And again, all these chips have been designed in the past with crypto processor to support RSA or elliptical. But I'm sure that in the coming years, if it's not already the case, chip supplier will focus now on implementing a crypto accelerator for PQC algorithm. Not in, I mean, they will continue, of course, to propose RSA and DC because this is important to support code mechanism and on the document, but they will certainly add a different type of accelerator to improve the computation of PQC algorithm. I wanted to add this slide about funding European project. So this is it's called PQC for MRTD. This is a 2 years project starting soon, where in fact they ask the leader in Europe playing in this hardware and software part around passport and also as PQC expert to work and propose a secure implementation of quantum recent cryptographic algorithm and protocol in the field of identity and PKI infrastructure. So it's really related to passport. And when we're talking about passport, just of course, we're taking also driving license, resident permit, identity card, whatever, but it all relies because they all relies on the same security mechanism. But it means that Europe is putting a lot of interest today on the topic of PQC, and it's something that everybody is working on today. At least a person involved in the passport area, and we all know that we'll succeed to define the appropriate new security mechanism for electronic documents. So the conclusion of this presentation is first I did this we did Thales a prototype. It was ready to show that okay, we can today have a prototype. There is no technical barrier to create such type of electronic document. Okay, so we implemented. I'm talking about, for example, the Kyber protocol, but we also have another prototype where we have also an active authentication based on dilithium algorithm instead of RSA or FTK. So means the same type of chip, okay? And but we know that we have today NIST standardized PQC algorithm compatible with a smart card market, which is great. Also, we can see that the way ICAO specify the document and the inspection system, we know that it would be very easy to migrate from legacy to PQC-enabled document because it will be at some point compatible with the legacy inspection system until they are ready to support PQC-enabled document. And also, one important topic is that ICAO will not be alone on this project. ICAO can get the support of European projects. So I mentioned on this one, but there is other European project cooking around the same principle. I mean, implementation of a new security mechanism for ICAO world passports or electronic documents. So that's it. We've reached the end of the presentation a bit in advance, but I think we still have time for a question.
Thank you very much, Gilles. So I've opened up the microphones. So if anybody wants to ask a question directly to Gilles, you just unmute your microphone. While we're waiting for some questions to be asked, don't forget you can post it in the chat if you want to remain anonymous. I'd just like to, well, it's less of a question really, but obviously being the Java Card Forum, our focus is on Java Card technology. So how prolific is the technology within ePassports, e-documents, and why would you use it?
Okay, so I would say for passport, this is not that common to use a Java card platform because a passport, I would say, is mono-applicative. The passport itself has a single usage to cross a border and to present identity. However, if you look at identity document, even driving license, we have some customer using driving license not only to verify the identity of the user, but also to use it to get access to online web services, to perform digital signature, etc. So yes, in this for Thales, for sure, the ID market. I'm talking here about identity document, driving license. We use mainly a Java card platform because we can have plenty of application proposed to our customers. So they can have multi-usage document, one with a traditional security mechanism to verify the identity of the citizen, and then other application the citizen can use to access online services or other type of information.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so we've got a question here. When do you think new security mechanisms will arrive on our passports?
Okay, so I'm sorry. There is not yet a share roadmap from ICAO. The technical group called WG3 from ISO C17 has proposed to enhance and to work on it and to propose the security mechanism to start working on. We know that today they will make it step by step. First step being the passive authentication because it has a huge impact. I mean, if one day, as explained, and if one day someone is able to break such keys, that would be a really huge damage for a passport. So they will start working on this one. It has a huge impact in terms of infrastructure. So this is more or less what we can see in the next version of the edition of the ICAO standard, which is planned within 2 years from now, I think, or 2 years and a half. But then in parallel, they would take benefit of so, for example, a European project PQC4M or a project to have a look on the security mechanism to verify the security proof, of course, of such new mechanism. Then also make some interoperability test between different document issuer, verifier, etc. This is the way it works, in fact, in ICAO. When they want to implement a new mechanism, they will first publish a draft of specification, then they will ask for interop session to be sure that we have a common understanding. Then when it's confirmed, we can publish and ask and propose a roadmap for implementation. So it means that by the end of the decade, maybe we will see a new mechanism on the electronic passport. But for sure, 2027, we will certainly see a request to for the passive authentication mechanism.
Okay, thank you. So we have another question here. It says, is your implementation of a prototype side channel resistant?
Well, this is the way it has been. Okay. Well, first it's a prototype for sure. First, it has been implemented by proposed and implemented by our security labs team. They are the one proposing today of, I would say, legacy protocol and the implementation of PACE, DH, CDH, etc. So we have a strong, very large, good knowledge on the different type of attack, and yes, they make it able to resist to side channel attack, etc. However, to be honest, the security proof is a problem because we enter a different era. We're not talking about traditional computer, we're talking about quantum computers. So security proof is, I would say, another topic to address, and it's a big challenge that we want to address with the different European project.
Okay, thank you. And probably one last question, I think, here. It says, will crypto agility be part of future passport?
Okay, so that's a very good question. I forgot to mention that in fact, inside this WG3 ISO SC 17 WG3 group, there is a subgroup called CAX, stand for Crypto Agility Subgroup. In fact, it's for PQC, but crypto agility. We consider that yes, crypto agility must be also a part of a future specification for passport. So at which level, how it's going to be addressed, we don't know yet, but we consider that yes, along with implementing new PQC algorithm, crypto agility will be also addressed in the passport. Certainly, for example, to switch or to force at some point maybe to deactivate all mechanism and to force the implementation of new mechanism, etc. We don't know yet, but yes, it is.
Okay, super. And any more questions? I can't see any more coming in. So I think, yes, looks like it's all clear now. So thank you again, Gilles. Really appreciate you
You're welcome.
participating in our series and enlightening us on what's coming. And as I mentioned before, the webinar itself will be posted on our YouTube channel, and you will all receive a link to the presentation itself and the recording of the webinar. So if you want to pass it on to any of your colleagues or watch it again, then feel free. And a last minute question. Ooh, just as
Okay.
I'm summing up, and we got a last minute question. I'm sorry about this, but was there a PQC safe implementation of the active authentication in the prototype?
Not on this prototype. In fact, we implemented an active authentication with a dilithium algorithm, but it was in the previous version. But in between, the standard adapted a little bit this protocol, and it was no more compatible, in fact, with the mechanism to verify the dilithium signature for ActiveOut. But yes, we are also able to achieve it was on the similar platform. It was a different prototype, but we were able also to achieve an ActiveOut based on the dilithium signature.
Okay. Ooh, we just got there in time.
Yeah,
So literally on the last sentence. So thank you again, Gilles. And
you're
if
very
anybody
welcome.
wants to join any more of our webinars, we've got another 4 coming up. So go to our website and sign up. Otherwise, I'll wish everybody a good evening or good rest of the day. And thank you once again for joining us.
Thanks to all of you. Have a good day. Bye bye.
Thank you.